looking like this? Tell me, am I looking like this? No, not at all.
Hey, what's going on, you beautiful people? My name's Tie-Dye. I hope you guys had a pretty awesome day today. My day's been pretty awesome so far. So today we're going to be jumping into another Cinema 4D tutorial. This one's definitely a lot less practical, but something that's very fun to do in my opinion. Now, what we're going to be making here is actually custom arcade machines, which is pretty awesome, pretty fun. There's a cool technique in here that you're going to learn, and you can apply it to so many things when it comes to Cinema 4D and Photoshop work. So hopefully you guys can learn from that, because like I said, it's not the most practical thing, but the things that you can learn from this tutorial, you can apply to many other things. So this is just going to be a bit more fun, a bit more laid back. I got some good music playing, some David's Tea here, and it's just going to be an all-around fun video to make, and hopefully you guys enjoy it as well. So anyways, the one thing that you do need to download to follow this will be in the description, by the way, is this image right here. Now this is the side of an arcade machine. This is where the main sort of base set object is going to come from, and you'll see exactly how we do that in a moment. So like I said, we're going to be doing a Cinema 4D tutorial, but we also have Photoshop aspects as well. We're actually going to start off with Photoshop. So we're going to open up that image that I just showed you right now, and the first thing that we're going to do is under layers, we're going to go to this little icon right here, the quick selection tool, and just select all of the white here on the image. And from there, it's very simple. You just go to paths, which is right beside layers, and at the bottom here there should be a little icon. It's like a circle with a bunch of squares around it, and it says make work path from selection. So you click that, it makes a little work path here under paths, and then you do file, export, and paths to Illustrator, paths work path. Okay, and just name it whatever you want. So I'm gonna name this work paths, and that's all we really have to do to start off with Photoshop. Like, that is it right there. Very simple. So our work paths just popped up here on the desktop. So we're now going to go into Cinema 4D, and my version is R14 Studio. So a lot of people have been commenting different things, but this is very universal. Like, any version will support what I'm doing right now. So what we're going to do, the first thing I want to do is make this isometric. So we go to cameras, all the way at the bottom there's a little drop down, and we change it to isometric, just so we can purposely, or not purposely, fully follow the tutorial to make this, because I did this in a isometric point of view. I do want to add a lot of things though. This is a very basic image, and I know with a lot of my tutorials I really encourage you guys to do your own thing, because I like to make things very simple and say, hey guys, add your own twist. That's pretty cool, and this is a great example of that. I'm going to be adding a lot of different things, and I really hope you guys do as well, because this is your arcade machine, so hopefully you add your own personal twist to it. So what I want to do here, now that we're in isometric view, is go to File and Merge. And now we're going to scroll down and find our work paths. So once again, I titled mine work path, and just press OK. And here is our arcade machine. As you can tell, it is just a simple outline of an arcade machine. But this is where the awesome tool underneath the HyperNurbs image is the Extrude NURBS image. This is where this awesome tool comes into play, where we can just make this into a 3D object. So we're going to drag our work path into the Extrude NURBS, and boom, automatically a 3D object right there. And the cool thing about this is you can do this with text as well from Cinema 4D, or any logo or anything like that, and you can turn it into a 3D object that way. But now that we have the Extrude NURBS and it's all 3D and whatnot, we're going to go under the object settings, and we're going to change the movement settings a little bit. So you have 0, 0, and 20. And as you can see, when we change the 20 a little bit, it makes it a bit thicker, and it looks more like an arcade machine now. So I think the magic number is about 400 for me. That looks like the proper size of an arcade machine, in my opinion at least, and I'm going to keep it at that. The one thing I do want to do though is under Extrude NURBS, these little two dots here called the Fong tag. You just want to select that and press backspace to get rid of that. And one last thing, we're going to click on Extrude NURBS and hit C on our keyboard to make it an editable object, so we can mess around with some of the shapes here and really make it our own machine with our own custom designs on it. To start off, what I want to do is make the screen a little bit more beveled. So the way I want to do that is go to the left here, and under the polygons tool, which is just the cube here with the one side selected, I'm going to select where the screen would be. Right click from there and go to bevel, and then when you sort of drag out, like in or out, obviously you'll know which direction is the correct one, but when you drag out, you'll have this sort of beveled screen around it. And then from there you can even go to, say, the move tool, and just drag it out a little bit and just adjust it however you want it to be. But the main thing is to right click on it when it's selected and bevel it. That way you get the outline, just sort of like in this image here, as you can tell. Whoa, Windows 10 is a little bit weird. The little outline there just to, you know, make the screen pop a little bit more. So that's the one thing I did to really make the screen stand out, and we'll add some color to it as well to make it change. And the next thing I want to do is this part where the buttons are is a little bit too small for my liking. So what I want to do here is select the front panel, and holding Control on a PC and Command on a Mac, you just want to click on the directional arrows and drag out. If that doesn't work for you, what you can also do is right click and go to extrude, and extrude it that way by clicking... no, you can't do that apparently. Just, yeah, hold Control and do it that way. That way always works. Works on every version, I believe, past R12, and no one really has R12, so this should work for most of you guys. Hold Control, drag out, and there you go. Now to just sort of reposition this, I'm going to drag it down a little bit. As you can tell, I just want to have it matching up with this angle there, so I'm going to drag it down a little bit. And then even with the scaling tool, scale down the front of it just a tad. And there we go. That seems to be looking a lot better like that. So now it's a little bit more extended out. If I render it out, it is a little bit off, but not that bad in my opinion. Just mess around with it until, yeah, there we go. That's like a perfect angle. What I could even also have done there was just go to the side view and just try and make it match up. So as you can tell there, it is pretty spot on right there. So I'm happy with that. I'm gonna keep it like that. And that is the basic shape here of the arcade machine. So now we can start coloring this thing. And if you guys already know, my default color for everything pretty much is blue. So I'm gonna stick with my default blue here. And whenever I'm working with low poly or anything like that, I like to just kill the specular, go into color, and just change the color to whatever I want. It's very simple when it comes to this kind of stuff. Obviously, if you're a lot better with texturing, go ahead, make the textures whatever style you want, but this is just what I'm going to be doing for the sake of this video, and I'm just going to slap this on there. So that's the entire thing. Obviously, we don't want the entire thing to be blue like that. So what I'm going to be doing here is just selecting once again, what's it called? The polygon tool, and then going up here to the sort of mouse cursor, and going around and changing all the specific things that I want to change. For example, around the screen. So holding Control, you can select multiple, or sorry, holding Shift, you can select multiple segments at once. For example, around the screen, I selected a bunch of them by clicking one, clicking off, holding Shift, clicking one, holding Shift, clicking one. That way we have the entire thing surrounded. And I can just make a new texture and just have it sort of like a bit of a darker blue than the previous one, just to make it pop a little bit more and just to make it a little bit more distinct where the screen itself is. So as you can see, it makes it pop out a little bit. What I'm actually going to do is rotate the entire object by clicking this top icon, which is the entire object, making sure I get all of it. And just clicking on this final part of the frame and bringing the entire object back. There we go. From here, I'm going to want to color the screen. So click on the screen, and what I personally would really recommend for this is just make the color a little bit darker, not completely black, but like a very dark shade. And then what you can do from there is we're going to add some stuff onto it in Photoshop, sort of like what I did here. This was all added in Photoshop, very quick, simple technique there, but a lot of this was done in Photoshop. You'll see how I did that in a second. We're just going to be making the base shape and importing it, and a lot of the actual graphics and text were done within Photoshop itself. So back to the Cinema 4D part. This is our basic shape here. Pretty cool, but we're going to need some buttons on this thing. We can't make everything in Photoshop, so we're going to have to add a few buttons here, and there's a few ways that you can do this. The easiest way, of course, would be to just drop in a cylinder and just adjust it so it's roughly in the position you want it to be, which I really can't tell. So just have it somewhere on the dash there like that. And what I'm going to do is just shrink this down way smaller to the size of, you know, roughly a button, so something like that. Maybe even make it a bit taller so it's easier to just fit in, like so. Or you could just rotate it, but this is just sort of like an easy cheat. And from here, what I'm going to do is make an editable object by pressing C on it. And with the cylinder selected, I'm going to go to this polygon tool once again, this little arrow here, the live selection tool, and select the entire top, all the segments there. Right click, go to bevel. So I bevel it in like that. And then move to my move tool and bring it down. And that way you just sort of get a bit of like a concave look. You can even, you know, bring it up again or something. Whatever really floats your boat. Or once again, bevel it back up. Like, it's really personal taste. Like, just mess around with the beveling. Like, what I did there was I beveled up, dropped it down, and then beveled up again. So it sort of like goes in and goes out, sort of like a button like that. And then we'll just get some different colors that we can slap on there as well. So once again, kill the specular color. Let's go to sort of like a faded red and put that on there. And that's a pretty cool looking button. I think I'm going to totally ignore what I said earlier and actually rotate it a little bit. I'll make sure the whole thing's selected. Rotated it just so it fits in a little bit better. And there's our first button. So very, very simple to do. You can make the buttons different colors if you want. For the sake of this, I'm going to have like a 2-player mode. So there's going to be 2 different color buttons, but like grouped together. It's going to be, you'll know what I mean. I have a sort of a basic idea as to what I want to do for this. So I'm going to have this first button here. Adjust it to however it should be in your opinion. And to duplicate it... Sorry, I'm a bit tired. It is like the first day back from school. So to duplicate it, I'm going to select it, hold control, and drag up. So now it's the second one. So now I can just move it over, bring it up, do the same thing, duplicate it, move it over, and bring it up. So now we have 3 buttons there. You could even do like a bigger button. Like, I'm just going to do something a little bit weird here. This is obviously not like a typical arcade machine. This is my own creation here. I'm going to make this one bigger in a different color, just as like a personal twist to it. Let's think of a good color. We could make this one sort of a orangish yellow. I don't mind that. It's sort of the same color scheme anyways. So there's our first set of buttons right there. And what I do want to do as well is add a joystick to it. Just because, you know, I don't really know that many games that don't have a joystick to it. It's sort of like an iconic thing with arcade machines, as you guys know. So once again, very, very simple. What we're going to do is just insert another cylinder. Position this once again. Obviously, I could go to side view and make this faster, but I'm lazy. So just make this skinny, and it's all just like personal, what you think looks good. I'm going to position this somewhat next to those buttons. Bring it down a bit. Whatever looks good. Like, obviously this is just like your personal opinion or whatnot. Make this color just like a gray. Put that on there. And then we just need a ball. So for this, I'm actually just going to go with the side view to speed it up a bit. So bring that up, make sure it's level, and of course scale it down because that is way too big. And pretty close, pretty close. There we go. And I think I'm going to make this one red as well, just to sort of keep with the arcadey theme. So there's like our joystick as well. Now a cool thing that you can do that I would personally recommend is sort of just have like a bottom panel as well. So I'm just going to do the same technique, side view, line it up. And what I mean by like a panel is just sort of like I don't want the joystick floating in midair, right? I want it to be on something. So this needs to get skinnier. Drag it down. and just position it underneath and then do the whole rotation thing. So we're going to rotate it, make sure it's, you know, approximately the right angle. It doesn't have to be too perfect, but you know, you can tell if it looks good or not. So about yay deep looks about good to me, and just try and make the angle as close as you can. I mean, of course you can do it perfect if you want, but it's not really that needed. The one thing I'd recommend though is just making sure it's centered, because of course it's going to look better if it's centered. That's just a given with anything. And then I'm going to slap on the same texture there, and we got our joystick and our first set of buttons right there ready to go. So now what I'm going to do is just duplicate the whole thing by selecting it all and then just dragging it over. But what I am going to do is change the color of the buttons just so it's like a distinct Player 2 version. And I'm going to make these ones green. We don't have a lot of green on here, do we? So I'm going to make this one green just to switch it up a bit. So these need to be deleted. And yeah, I just deleted the textures there, put the new textures over top. And then even this button I can change as well to maybe like a purple. I think a purple would look good. The purple on there, and boom, there we go. Now I'm going to add like labels to it as well. But we're going to be doing that within Photoshop rather than Cinema 4D, just to make the whole thing a little bit easier for us. One thing I do want to do though with this arcade machine actually that I forgot to do is once again go to our selection tool and our surface tool, and what I want to do is just make this a little bit bigger. How am I going to do this? I guess I'll just go to the bevel tool and bring it up a little bit. Yeah, so what I did there was I just beveled it just so it's going to be a little bit easier to distinguish this front panel, because you'll know why in a second. And I'm going to do the same thing with the screen here and just select these side points. And the reason I'm doing that is because we're going to have like an actual sign there. In fact, I might even want to change this color to black as well, just so it's a little bit easier. No, maybe not black, maybe like a gray, just so it's easier to put a sign on there later on. You'll know what I mean in a second. It's kind of similar to this here. I just kind of want to put it down there instead. So this is sort of like the basic look of our arcade machine. Another thing that I would like to do, because I was doing some referencing of other arcade machines here, and I noticed that with a lot of them, the insert coin part is down there, as you can see with like a lot of these machines. And I guess that's sort of like the standard, and I don't know why I didn't do it here. This is just like a placeholder. I sort of have the insert 5 cents right there, which is kind of odd. There was a lot of room down there to do it, but I guess I sort of missed on my chance there. So what I'm going to be doing is just adding in a cube. Drag this cube out. Try and center it a bit with the different viewpoints. And just get it in position. And of course adjust the size. I just sort of want this to be a very flat rectangle that's popping out the front. Adjust the size on that. Drag it down a bit. Alright, so I'm happy with that. And what we're going to be doing with this is slapping on that other blue that we made to make it a little bit different. And maybe even pushing that in a little bit deeper. Anyways, we're going to be making our coin slot here for player 1 and for player 2. So to do that, I'm just going to duplicate the cube once again by holding control and dragging out. Changing the, just the width of it and the height a bit, I guess. And dragging that back in, moving it up, and sliding that over there. And let's add the gray texture to that. And of course, whatever texture you personally want to do, you can do it. And duplicating that and bringing that one over right about there. So that is the basic look of our arcade machine right now. I'm pretty happy with that. I really don't think there's too much more we need to add to that. I think we're ready to render and put it into Photoshop, so let's go ahead and do that. So for the render settings, I'm just going to make this like 1000 by 1000. Of course, you can make it whatever size you want. Save, make sure alpha channel is selected. That's the only really important point. Save it to wherever you want. PNG for our format, and then we're going to be adding some effects, ambient occlusion and global illumination. So for lighting, what I like to normally do is just add a physical sky. If you don't have a physical sky, you honestly can just not do that. You can just add in like normal lights and position them all around. For example, you know, just make sure the whole thing's lit up correctly. Do something like that. It really doesn't matter too much with this because we're going to be changing a lot of it within Photoshop. But for the sake of this tutorial and just to speed things up a little bit, I'm going to be going into a preset that I have by Grayscale Gorilla. And let's see, where is it? Yeah, here we go. The overhead softbox. So just to speed this up a bit, I'm going to put it over top. Drag it up. Grab a light. And why not? Just I'll slap in a physical sky. Just because it makes everything so much faster and easier. So for physical sky, you can just mess around with the time and the location. Maybe I'm going to delete this overhead softbox. Just need the physical sky. Just mess around with the time and location. And then rotate it to whatever the light looks best at. For example, I think that looks pretty good. I'll give it a quick render just to see what it looks like. Alright, so that's what it looks like. I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm actually just going to render that out, and then we can open it up in Photoshop and add some of those cool techniques and tricks and text and all the T's in there, and it should be a good time. Alright, so this is it inside of Photoshop. I was going to say inside of Cinema 4D, but obviously not. We just came from there. So this is where we're going to be adding a lot of text and sort of smaller icons that we can throw in there. So I'm just going to teach you really quickly how you can do that. The first thing that I'm going to do is just sort of open up a new document on the side. 1000 by 1000 is probably way too big, but we're going to go with that for now anyways. And keep that there, of course. And what I'm going to be doing is just sort of have the insert coin button. And the way that I'm going to do that is very simple. Just text tool and of course make the color black. Find a good font that you want. You can make it like arcadey or something that really just stands out. Like for me, I'm just going to do American Captain as my default standout font. So insert coin, or maybe not. Let's have like coin. No, let's just go 5 cents. That's a good one. 5 cents is a solid amount. And then on top of that, we're gonna have the little slot itself. So I'm just going to make a rectangle that's roughly the size of a coin hole. Maybe even scale this down a bit. That's a little large. And from there, I'm just going to merge the two by making them both selected by holding Shift and selecting both and pressing Control or Command E depending on PC or Mac. So Control or Command E to merge the two when they're selected, and just simply drag this over to here, where, like I said, it's way too big. So I'm just going to scale it down. And I know you guys are thinking, that looks like absolute trash tie-dye. Why would I ever want that? And this is where it sort of gets kind of cool. So what we're going to be doing is when you press Control T to scale it, you can also rotate it. And what you want to do is rotate it so it's level to whatever you're trying to line it up with, like that. But it doesn't look quite right yet. Something's still a little bit off. And what you want to do is right click it and go to Skew. Click on the middle point and drag it. And then you can sort of make it the right... I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It just lines up correctly. So once again, I'll just do it to show you. To duplicate it, by the way, you press Command or Control J and then Command or Control T to move it. And I'm just going to move it over there. But the thing that I did there, like I said, was we rotated it to line up and then right-clicked and pressed Skew. And Skew sort of makes it like, for example, if I skew this object here, you'll see what it does. So if I skew this whole thing, you'll see that it just sort of like leans it. And when you do that to something that's already being rotated, it sort of makes it into an isometric viewpoint, which means it matches up with the other isometric object, which happens to be its arcade machine, and it lines up perfectly. So I'm going to merge these two layers. Once again, Control E, and maybe even lower the opacity a little bit, because I feel like the dark, or the black is a little too black. A little too black. It's standing out way too much. So we're going to be doing the same technique for other things. For example, I'm going to be going back to this scene and deleting this. And we're going to be having a player 1 and a player 2 sign. So I'm just going to make a color, sort of like a peachy color, and making a rectangle here. Centering that. Maybe even making it a little bit more skinny. And then going into our text tool, American Captain once again, but this time I'm going to make it a... What were the colors that we had here? So we have red side and green side. So I want to make this text red, or a bit of an off red. So player 1, and then we're just going to put that down here. I just want to make sure everything's centered perfectly. Which that is not. There we go. So player 1, merge those two by pressing Control E once again and dragging it over with this move tool up in the very top. Moving it to our other document and pressing Control T. We're going to scale it down a bit. So once again, what we're going to be doing here, just in case last time was a little too fast, we're going to rotate it to make it line up with the whatever it's supposed to be lined up with. In this case, it's supposed to be lined up with the screen and the side here. No, it's supposed to be lined up down here. It's supposed to be lined up down here because that's what it's on. So as you can see, it's lined up with that now. And to make it sort of look correct, we're going to right click, go to Skew, and skew it over so it is parallel with the side here. So you just want to make everything parallel. So the lines are parallel all the way around, parallel on the x-axis and the y-axis. And then we're just going to move this up here so it is player 1 on this side. And then I'm sure you guys can guess what I'm going to do here now. I'm going to make player 2. So, man, maybe I should not have done that. Maybe I should not have merged those layers. Where? Oh, there's the eyedropper tool. Eyedropper tool, I'm just going to do like a quick cheat. And now we're going to have player 2. And he's going to be green, because green is player 2. This is kind of like a Mario thing. I'm just starting to get that now. So, change up the color a bit. Player 2. Might want to adjust that color. It's a little much. Just get that in place. Yeah, that is way too vibrant. Not about that life. There we go. So now we can merge these two, drag it over to our main file, scale it way down to make sure it's roughly the same size. And to do so, I'm just going to rotate it and scale it down. Once again, make sure it's leveled with the bottom, or whatever you're putting it on for that matter. And from there, we're going to skew it. So right click, skew. Did I not press skew? I pressed scale, of course. So we're going to skew it sideways. And now we're going to just make sure it's roughly the same size. Which it isn't. Ooh. We may have messed up a little bit here. but it shouldn't be that noticeable. It's just the size is just not right. I think we need to skew it a little bit more as well. And that should do it right there. So player 1 and player 2. No. Definitely not happy with that player 2. I'm going to redo that. Drag that over. And that's the thing with this. It's a lot of eyeballing it. So you're going to mess up quite a bit and you're going to have to redo it. So that's roughly the same size. Rotating it. It's a lot of guessing. So a lot of human error is going to come in here. It's very hard to get it perfect. Right click, skew it aligned, and shrink it down. There we go. That's a hell of a lot better. And there we go. Player 1 and player 2, we got the insert coins. One of the last things that I want to do here is actually have the name of the game up here, which what I put here was just tie-dye, sort of like a play on words, because it was like die, and it was like an arcade game. So as you can tell, very creative here. I'm gonna go back here, and this is where you can really spend a lot of time making a cool logo, or you can just really chintz out, like I probably will end up doing. And let's see what I'm going to do here. Let's just do tie-dye games. And yeah, that's pretty boring, I know guys, but for the sake of this tutorial, that's what we're going to do. So for this, just like everything else, rotate it. That is obviously not right, but you know what? We're going to go with that for now. Rotate it. Make it level. I'm going to scale it down a bit. And then we're going to do the good old skew once again. And this one's a lot easier to tell because there's this distinct line right there. And as you can see, that looks a hell of a lot better. And of course, if you wanted to, you could add like a logo on the side or anything for that matter. But I think that's how I'm going to leave that for now. Hey, Cortana, I did not call you. Get out of here. And then there's a few things that I kind of wanted to do before I ended this. Is, of course, I want to touch up this arcade machine. So to do this, I want to go to the polygonal lasso tool. And this might not even be the case with yours. This is just like if it does manage to happen. And since we're dealing with all straight lines here, I'm just gonna quickly delete this one part that I don't like there by making a perfect selection, selecting the color that I want to replace it with, and then just sort of going over it and deselecting. So now you can't even tell that that was there. So once again, that was polygonal lasso tool, made a sharp selection, and then just colored over it. So very easy to do. Like, you can change the shape of this a lot within Photoshop. That's what I really like about it. And the final thing that I guess that you could do is, of course, add something to the screen. What I did there was I just sort of made like a pixelated dude shoot another pixelated dude. But for the sake of this, what I do want to do is just add in my logo. Just like speed things up a lot. And you could, of course, find images online of like cool sprites that you like. But I feel like this is just a hell of a lot faster. So I'm just going to change my logo around a little bit. What I could even do actually is go to filter, pixelate. I could pixelate it a bit and see if that's cool. Sort of make that into a sprite. But I've never really pixelated, so I don't know which one I'm doing. And obviously not that one. Filter, pixelate. Okay, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to mess with that right now. We're just going to drag it over and put it in. Once again, do the rotate thing. It's a lot easier when something has a straight edge, sort of like my logo does. And then from there, we're going to skew it. right. Center that onto the screen. And then one final thing that I'm going to want to do to it is make a new layer above the logo and just go over it in white with the brush tool. Default brush should do. Hardness on 0, of course, and just sort of like go over it very, very gently. And then change it to overlay or something, and just sort of lower the opacity just so it's a very slight glow. Whatever floats your boat, really. And that's about it. Of course, you can add things to the side, like as you saw in my other one, there was a poster on the side, same technique as everything else, but I think that's where I'm going to leave it off. Of course, for a background, you can just sort of add a solid color by making a new layer. I like to make it like a very contrasting color, so of course I had a sort of a orangey background. That's a very ugly orange. I like an orangey background, and I don't remember exactly what I did to it, but I believe I had the shadow. In the shadow I did the same way by duplicating it, and for this I pressed Ctrl U and I made the image all black. So as you can see, I just made a black replica of it. Went to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, sort of made it a little bit blurrier, not too blurry. Once again, set it behind it, and from here I did the skew technique and just skewed it back for the shadow, and then just sort of like messed around with the positioning. Of course, lower the opacity a lot. And that's how I made my arcade machine. That was pretty much it. I actually like this one a hell of a lot better than the other one because I didn't spend too much time in the other one, but that's it. That's my arcade machine right there. Hopefully you guys had fun, and I would love to see the stuff that you make. You could, of course, make an entire line of these things, different games. You can put stuff on the screens with a lot more detail, but that's just how I did it. Very simple. Pretty fun. You can do a lot of cool things with it, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, of course, slap that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new here, guys. Once again, my name's been Tie-Dye. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.